Okay, hello, everyone. Hello. We are here. And let me tell y'all, I'm just going to be frank. This is the second time we had to record because I messed up the first time. Oh my God. I forgot to click Twitch and YouTube. Like, duh. You would think I had done this a million times. But nonetheless, we are here yet again. Here we are. And we are here on Lunar New Year. That's what this outfit is inspired by. It's inspired by Lunar New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. It is year of the snake. So I got our cat snakes that this is cat snake number 2 because the first one got ripped apart by the cats. So happy year of the snake, guys. And you know what? I got my old glass today. I have swam through oceans of time to find you, honey. Scott, did you swim through oceans of time to find me?
I did. Now I'm here.
Period. Just like this little snake here, honey. Because I think the snake thing, and I still haven't looked it up. I think it comes every 8 years or something. It's not every time. So we got to swim through oceans of time to be year of the snake for Lunar New Year. So we love that. So today we are doing Adventure of the Greek Interpreter, or what I want to call Menacing, Giggles, Kidnapping, and Family Reunions. Because all of that happened in this story. All of that happened. So Scott, now you got to act like you never heard the story before. I'm not even going to ask you how do you think that's all tied in because you already know the story. So, Scott, before you knew the story the first time, did you know that Sherlock Holmes had a brother?
I did not know that.
So this one is about Sherlock Holmes' brother. That's the family reunion part. So, clearly Sherlock Holmes has had to cross oceans of time to be with his brother because, honey, we ain't heard nothing about him, and we done been on 78 adventures with him thus far.
It's just the first family reunion. Now that I know the story.
This is the first family reunion. So, okay. So Watson and Holmes are kind of hanging out at the, 221B Baker Street. They're just kind of hanging out. And, I don't know how the conversation comes up, but Watson is like, Holmes, you know what? You're kind of like a one of a kind kind of guy. He kind of says, Holmes is kind of like a walking Google, or he's all brain, but he doesn't really have any emotions. He's all observation, and so he's like, you're kind of one of a kind. And Sherlock Holmes is like, no, I'm not. You just don't know my brother Mycroft. And so Watson's like, huh? And he's like, yeah, I got a brother Mycroft. And he was like, hell, he better than me. He do better than me. He's more observant than me. And so Watson is like, well, how come I never heard of him? And so Sherlock is like, basically, because he lazy. Because my brother's lazy. Okay. He's not here to do nothing, honey. He's here to, he's smart, but he's lazy. He was like, I go to Minecraft when I can't figure out cases. And he was like, my brother will just spit out the answer, and I'll ask him like, well, how did you get to that conclusion? And he's like, Minecraft would be like, you want me to do more? Did I not just give you the answer? What do you need to know how I got to the answer for? Like, you know how Sherlock Holmes be telling people, Minecraft is not here for that. Minecraft is like, girl, didn't I give you the answer? So, so he's like, that's why. He was like, but he does do a few things. Like he opened up a Diogenes club. Now, I had never heard of this before. I was like, oh, wow, what is this? And so I looked into it. It's something that only is in Sherlock Holmes. Only Minecraft has done. He created a club because, as Holmes says, this is Holmes or Sir Conan's or This is how they describe him. They describe him as queer. He does not like people. He prefers to be by himself, reading papers all day, just kind of looking at what's going on in the world. He ain't waiting for the world to change, honey. He is just existing in it, being unbothered. And how he figured out that a way to do it, he opened a Diogenes Club, which is a club for men that don't want to talk to each other. Is that what you were looking up?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it says?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's a club for men that don't want to talk to each other. Queer men who are just uninterested in other humans. They just want to sit there. They want to just read their paper, honey, and not talk. And it says that Mycroft has a rule. If you talk more than 3 times, you gone. You can no longer be a part of Diogenes Club. So this is how he makes his money. And I guess he writes a couple of journals for like schools, like colleges or whatever. And that's how he makes his money. And my homie goes from the house to Club Diogenes and Diogenes Club back to the house. And that's all we doing here. He's living his best life that way. And so he was like, speaking of, my brother, did you want to go meet him? Because my brother sent me a little letter today. And so Watson is like, absolutely, because this don't even sound real. So, they go over to, the Diogenes Club to go meet Sherlock's brother, Mycroft. So, Mycroft is sitting there chilling. So Watson looks at him and he's just like, he looked like a fat Sherlock Holmes. He's just sitting in his little chair, honey, reading his little paper, just living his life and just eating and having a good time, honey. Unbothered. Charging people to come to a club where they can't talk. Unbothered. Creating the world he wants to see. Unbothered. So, Mycroft is sitting there and he's like, hey, I have a neighbor that came over here and he needed my help on a case that's kind of weird. And he's like, I could solve this case. I know I can because I'm me. Well, before that, though, before we get there, he comes in and here comes Mycroft dragging Holmes, because this is what brothers do, I guess. I don't know. And he's like, oh, I saw you had that one case. I'm surprised you didn't come over here and ask me for some help. And Sherlock is like, dude, I had it. He was like, well, you came for the other case. Just dragging. And so then he goes on to say, okay, I got this neighbor who came over here, need my help. But honey, I am home, Diogenes Club, home. And I don't go no further. I am too lazy to really be trying to, I can give him the answer, but it requires actual leaving and doing something outside of the 2 places I like to be. So could you just take this one on for me, since I'll be helping you with all your cases? Since I solved them for you when you can't. And so Sherlock is like, yeah, sure. And so, this is when Mycroft brings in his neighbor, Mr. Melays. Mr. Melays. So Mr. Melays is a Greek interpreter. He's super, super high up there. He works for governments and, he's doing, he's translating for diplomats. He's high end. So, and he lets me know, he's like, honey, I am, the Greek translators to the Greek translator, honey. I'm that translator. So he was like, of course, people come to my house all times of the day and night, because you never know when you need to negotiate. In Greek. You never know when somebody needs some money. Maybe the Greek king needs money. You never know. We had the king of Bohemia come. We had that one mystery king from the blue carbuncle, or I forget, something carbuncle, that case. So, anytime somebody might come through. So here come a knock at his door, the Greek translator, Mr. Malis. And Mr. Lattimore comes in and he's like, hey, I heard you can speak Greek and you're a translator. Come with me. I pay a lot. Now, this is where the first video we did, I said stranger danger. Scott said, oh, you should just go with us. So I feel like you should keep that same energy, even though you know how this ends, Scott. So, Scott, I feel like you should not just be going with people. If somebody came and asked me for some help, I'm like, who told you about me? I would vet them through other people.
My feeling was there's probably not a lot of need for a Greek translator in Victorian London, so he's just taking whatever job he can get.
Y'all. So, so he takes it. He does what Scott says. He takes it, and so they get in the stagecoach, and they riding. They riding in the stagecoach. It's bumpy. It's a bumpy ride. I feel like it don't have no shocks on there, so it's bumpy stagecoach. And so all of a sudden, Mr. Lattimore, pretend like this is a nightstick. Takes a nightstick out and just sits it next to him on the stagecoach. Just sits that thing down. And Mr. Malaise is like, this fool over here threatening. This fool over here threatening people. Yes, he's threatening people. Yeah, that's what he's doing. And so, he's like, so Mr. Malaise is like, what is that for? And he's like, oh, just, in case, just to keep things in line. Because stagecoaches sit like this, like cross, like just to keep things in line. No big deal. And this is when Mr. Malaise notices, like, oh, wait, the stagecoach, the windows are all covered, so I can't see out the window. Oh, this is why you vet things. We don't listen to Scott on that. Scott's a risk taker. Because we got a lot of scammers out here. So anyway, so they in a stagecoach for like 2 hours. So finally they get to the place and they kind of tie his eyes up. And so this is where Mr. Malaise meets Mr. Kemp, aka Dr. Giggles, the giggler. And so this one likes to giggle and threaten. So here we go. Let me just go and read some. I had the 690. I write it twice because I know me. Oh my God. I know me. Okay, so this is our first little encounter. Well done, well done. No ill will, Mr. Malaise. I hope, but we could not get on without you. If you deal fair with us, you'll not regret it. But if you have any tricks, God help you. He spoke in a nervous, jerky fashion and with little giggle laughs in between, but somehow he impressed me with fear more than the other. What do you want with me? I asked. Only to ask a few questions of a Greek gentleman who is visiting, honey, and to let us have the answers. But say no more than you are told to say, or here came the nervous giggle again. You had better never been born. This is why we don't just jump into stagecoaches or cars or anything with people. Because this man is just threatening and giggling, which is just weird, which makes me nervous. It just sounds like a mess. I feel like it's a mess. Scott, do you think it's a mess?
Yeah, I don't think that was a good idea. You shouldn't have got in.
Stranger danger. It applies to adults too. So anyway, so there, he's sitting there just knowing that he shouldn't have gotten that stagecoach, knowing he should have been like, who told you about me? Because not many people know about Greek translators. So anyway, or Greek interpreters. So all of a sudden they pull a man in who's tied up feet and hands and got plaster all over his face, just sitting there looking like this, y'all. Looking like this. Again, this is why we shouldn't just be getting in random stagecoaches with random people who promise us money. We shouldn't do that. And so he starts asking the man, the question. So how it has to happen, because his mouth got plaster on it. So how it has to happen is they ask the question, the Greek translator translates it. The dude has to write down the answer on the paper, and then the translator has to tell Mr. Lattimore and Mr. Kemp, the giggler, Dr. Giggles, aka the giggler. And so he does this a few times, and it's like, when are you gonna sign the papers? And he's like, no, I'm not signing the papers. This is like the giggler and his friend are asking the Greek guy, are you gonna sign the papers? And it's like, well, we're marrying your sister, you need to sign the papers. And the dude was like, no, you not, because there are certain rules in my culture, blah blah blah. He's holding his ground. He's standing his ground. He's standing his ground like a soldier. And so, this is where dude Mr. Melees is like, they really don't know Greek. Sir, would they have you here with a man that's clearly kidnapped? That's the kidnapping part. You got the menacing giggle part with the crazy giggler. You got the family reunion with Holmes and Mycroft and us finally meeting him. It only took like 11 stories before I guess he's starting to trust us. Sherlock Holmes is starting to trust us, y'all. We got to meet one person in his family. It kind of was like a secondhand invite too, by the way. Do you feel secondhand invite, Scott?
A little secondhand.
I do. So anyway,
but
we're here. Looking at the whole kidnapped man, realizing that, oh, maybe these people don't know Greek, even though we anyway. So finally he starts asking his own personal questions in there, like, hey, they saying this, but what's your name? And the dude says Paul. And so then he's asking, he keeps asking questions like, do you know where we are? Where are you from? Like, how long have you been here? And he discovers like this man just got to England and he's looking for his sister. And these people kidnapped him and they starving him and they trying to get him to sign something. And then that's when all of a sudden the men like kind of stop questioning him and they're like, to hell with it, blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden a woman comes in. She comes in and she's like, oh my God, I'm so tired of being in the room. I'm bored. I can't take this. Oh my God. And then she look over and she's like, is that Paul? That's my brother Paul. It's another family reunion. It's like double family reunion. It's like if it's like Labor Day or Memorial Day or 4th of July, and there are several families in the park grilling.
You brought the red cups.
Everybody. I did. I am the red cup. So, he rips off his plaster piece. And he's like, Sophie! And they run to each other in slow motion. Do I look like I'm running in slow motion, Scott? Look.
Oh, yeah.
They run together in slow motion, and it's like The Color Purple. They hug. And so Mr. Lattimore and Mr. Kemp rip them apart because you know what they say, Scott. If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing something right. And so they had haters. So they were doing something right. Clearly, that's why they were rich and the haters were trying to take their money, period. So they rip him apart. They throw the guy in a plaster mask somewhere. And Sophie, I don't even know where she goes, honey. She had a brief kind of intro in and a brief intro out. And so the Greek interpreter is just, Mr. Melez is just standing there like, I don't even know what to do. I would have left. I would have just ran in all the chaos and confusion. I would have tried to figure out how to get on out of there because this is crazy. Clearly, we have some people who are being held against their will with plaster on their face. So, whatever. So, here come Mr. Giggles again. And this, I'm just going to read what he said because he giggling and threatening. So he says, there are 5 sovereigns here, he said, walking up to me, which will, I hope, be a sufficient fee. But remember, he added, tapping me lightly on the chest. Like, who does Scott come here? And I'm kidding. Poke you in the chest lightly. And giggling. If you speak to a human soul about this, one human soul, mind well, may God have mercy on your soul. That's what this little giggling person is saying to him. I'm going to keep going. I cannot tell you the loathing and horror with which this insignificant looking man inspired me. I could see him better now as the light lamp shone upon him. His features were peaky and sallow, and his little pointed beard was thready and ill-nourished. It was a struggle beard. Oh. Scott's rubbing his beard. Scott has luxurious beard. Oh. So anyway, he pushed his face forward as he spoke, and his lips and eyelids were continually twitching like a man with Saint Vitus dance. Did you look that up? What is Saint Vitus dance? What is that?
I used to know. It's a Black Sabbath song.
But what is it really?
I forget.
I could not help thinking that his strange, catchy little laugh was also a symptom of some nervous malady. The terror of his face lay in his eyes, however, still gray and glistening coldly with a malignant, inexorable cruelty in their depths. Honey, we would not, he should have ran out that room when the chaos ensued because I would have been out. So did we figure out what Saint Vitus?
Yeah, it's like a disorder, disease, involuntary twitching of movements of the head, arms, legs, and hands.
So my book do like.
So back in Middle Ages, they call it Saint Vitus dance. But I guess it's symptoms chorea, some sort of neurological disorder.
He twitching. Okay, so I guess the homie was twitching and giggling. And offering 5 sovereigns, which was a lot of money. I didn't look at the conversion. So he takes the sovereigns. They throw him in a stagecoach, threaten him some more, send him on, drop him off, not at the train station that they picked him up at, just rude. Drop him off in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, he bumped into somebody who's from there, and they tell him, hey, you could catch the last train. Just hurry on that way. He gets on the last train. He gets home, can't sleep, waits until Mycroft opens up the Diogenes Club, and he finally, he probably walked like, yeah. He walks. He got to walk. I feel like Mycroft got to walk, honey. and it's given 5 mile an hour, so everybody sees you. So he still walks over there and he meets up with Minecraft and he's like, help, because this is crazy. I'm scared. This man is giggling and threatening. He's threatening and giggling. And so, Minecraft is like, I probably do know the answer, but I'm not willing to get up and go see anything or do anything beyond sit here and listen to you and send a telegram to my brother so he can do something. Period. Mycroft. Period. Live your truth. So, he called Sherlock, and now the man is telling Sherlock the thing. So they all are looking at him like, well, that is interesting. And while Mycroft and Sherlock know what's going on, they're like, we need to just kind of confirm some things. We just need to confirm some stuff. So Holmes sends some telegrams out. Mycroft puts an ad in the paper just saying, did anybody know somebody named Sophie that is here from Greece, and a dude named Paul? If you can, hit me up at the Diogenes Club. But don't come say nothing. Send a telegraph, because you can only talk 3 times or else get put out. Period. So, Mycroft is the one to get the fish. He gets the bite. He get the bite on the line. And it's Mr. Davenport. And Mr. Davenport is like, I know Sophie. That's my homegirl. She met Mr. Lattimore when she came over here as a student. She's really rich. She met Mr. Lattimore, and he got with her and then kidnapped her. And so we told her brother, who came over, I think they were from like Australia. He came over and we ain't heard no more from him. So we just assumed everything was good to go. We did not follow up. And we assumed everything was good to go. We heard no more. And so they were like, ooh, that's not good. So they round up everybody and they're like, okay, we probably need to go over there because I think that's Sophie and Paul, and that's brother and sister, and them people are kidnapping them to steal their money. So we probably need to go over there before it gets worse. And hey, so they get the police involved because Mr. Mellies had got the police, but they told him, go find Holmes because we don't know. So they go get the police now because Holmes is like, I know what's going on. And then they're like, oh, let's stop and get Mr. Mellies because these are Greek people and they speak Greek. So we're going to need a translator. Well, they get there to Mr. Mellies' house and his housekeeper is like, oh, girl, he didn't left already. He left with this really wonderful giggly guy. Just a delightful giggler. Clearly he didn't say them threats while he was over there with the housekeeper, but yeah. So they came and got him, Mr. Kemp, I'm assuming. So Holmes is like, oh my God, it's like urgent. Let's hurry up and get on down to where I think this house is. That's 2 hours down the road. So they fly on down there and they get there and they can't get in. So Holmes is like, did you know I'm like the world's greatest pickpocket or lock picker? I'm like the bomb. So he picks the lock. He gets in through a window. He lets everybody in. They're just standing there like, we don't know what to do. All of a sudden they hear moaning. Scott, do your moan. We got to go save that person. So Holmes runs up there towards the moans, kicks in the door, runs in, comes out coughing, and is like, oh my God, they're carbon monoxide poisoning them. And it's 2 men in there. He was like, I ran in there, opened the window, give it a second to air out, and then we're going to drag these gentlemen out and, do something. So they drag out Mr. Paul, the kidnapped man, with the plaster on his face, and Mr. Mellies. Now, Mr. Paul gone, honey. His soul didn't went up to glory, honey. Because they didn't starve him to glory. And probably kept that plaster on his face. His pores were jacked up. He probably sweated to death. Because who puts plaster on somebody's face? Scott, have you ever had plaster on your face?
I can't say that I have.
So, he passes away. But here comes Watson, as per usual, with his handy brandy. Now, mind you, let's go back in the story. We did not have time to get our doctor's bag to just like gather up some things, gather some snacks to go on this adventure. We were like, hey, this came, we need to hurry up and go. So how did Watson have brandy? I don't know. It seems as if this man always just has brandy on him for just in case a patient needs it, in case they lose a thumb or got that flask, baby. He got that work. So he brings Mr. Molly's back with some brandy and smelling salts. I guess that's all you need. If somebody is almost gone from carbon monoxide poisoning, you just little brandy and smelling salts, some ammonia. Voila. So he brings him back. And this is where we find out that was indeed Mr. Paul. And the people, Mr. Lattimore and Mr. Kemp, came back to his door, beat him up, kidnapped him, took him back for round 2 of sign these papers so we could take your money. To which Mr. Paul was like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing the plaster part. And I'm not doing the giving you all my money part. So he resists. And so finally they got fed up. They just put the carbon monoxide thing in there and just left him to go to glory. But Mr. Molly's made it, honey. He made it through, baby. He made it through to see another day. And they kidnapped Sophie again. So this was just a ploy to get these people money. So Holmes later on gets a message from Scott, and y'all are wrapping it all up because they find out Mr. Lattimore and Mr. Kemp end up becoming human voodoo dolls, pin cushions. Okay, they didn't got found sliced up, honey, like Thanksgiving turkey. And they thought it was a brawl between the two men, but Sherlock was like, Sophie did that, honey. She had to take revenge out for her brother, baby. So that right there is Menacing, Giggles, Kidnapping, and family reunions. We had 2 family reunions, 2 kidnappings, and a few Menacing Giggles with threats in between. What say you, Scott?
Yeah.
Now, what did you learn from this? If you learned anything.
First rule of Diogenes Club is don't talk to Diogenes Club.
3 strikes you out, baby. You gotta go because my Croft is like, I don't feel like hearing you talk. I ain't got time to be listening, honey. I am not to be bothered. My lesson stands the same. Stranger danger. Don't just be trusting everybody. This man almost had carbon monoxide poisoning and witnessed kidnapping and all kinds of foolishness and plaster on the face because he did not verify who sent them people over there. He should have get second lesson. All money ain't good money. Because that wasn't no good money. And I don't even think he ended up with no money. He gonna end up with a bill from Watson for that brandy. So that's all I have. Did you have anything else, Scott?
No. Just learned, Sherlock Holmes has a brother.
Yeah, he got a brother named Mycroft. So I guess this concludes our Scooby-Doo agency because that's how I feel like we are. We're the Scooby-Doo. Like it's Sherlock, Watson, Scott, you, me. It's like Scooby-Doo, a pup named Scooby-Doo, and I'm Daphne. Yes, honey. So I feel like that's what we're doing here. So I will see you guys next time. I'm gonna have to do another one this week because I kind of I already know the next one is gonna be awesome. I can't wait. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. Like, share, and subscribe. Of course, as always, from wherever we are to where you are, we wish you peace, love, and happiness. And yeah, this concludes we're off the case now, honey. It's over. Thank God. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye, 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 y'all.